Good morning students. So we are going to discuss about the test 2 and test 3 of the all questions, right? So we can start for 31 question. The demand for a commodity depends on all. It may be A, the price of that commodity, it may be price of related goods, or it may be income. So the answer will be all of the above, right? That is your all of the above. Then come to the 32. Law of demand establishes the inverse relationship between price and quantity demand. It is very simple, right? It is very simple. Then next come to all but. Here is it is very important phrase. All but means ସବୁ କିଛି କୋଉଟା ନୁହଁ. All but one of the following are assumed to remain same while drawing the individual's demand curve of a commodity. Which is of that following, right? So the answer will be C. So the answer will be C. In the case of demand curve, the price of goods not remain constant. So it will be the answer. You have to keep patience or see the phrase about all but, keeping aware of all but. Next come to 34. The demand for the product should have the following price requisite. The answer will be D, because it may be it has ability to pay, willingness to pay, and also need, right? So that is the answer will be of the I's, all of the above. Next 35. The cross elasticity of demand between the two perfect is here. That is your question number 35. The answer will be, it is very easy, that is infinite. In case of perfect substitution, the cross elasticity is infinite. The market demand curve is aggregation of individual demand curve, that is horizontally. So that will be the answer, right? Next 37. A single point on demand curve shows. The answer will be the C, the price and demand relationship. The price and demand relationship. Next 38. The fall in the price of the commodity leads to fall in demand for other commodities and vice versa, and that answer will be the substitute. The goods are the perfectly substitute, because if the price of the tea fallen, then if the price of the tea leads to fall, then the demand for another goods also leads to fall, right? Next come to next question, that is your 39. The decrease or fall in the price of commodity leads to increase in demand because of 39. The answer will be the C. It is both A and B. It is due to also substitution effect, and that is due to also income effect, right? That means the law of demand is constituted due to the two following effects. One is substitution effect and another is income effect. Next 40. Generally the demand curve has a negative slope, and it is also downward from left to right. So the appropriate answer will be both of these. Then 41. The law of demand can be derived with the help of that the answer will be C. That may be from, because it is derived from the utility function. It may be diminishing marginal utility or it may be equimarginal utility. Next come to the 42. The value of elasticity of demand from that may be 0 to infinite, because in case of 0 that is perfectly complementary goods, because in case of infinitive it is the case of perfectly substitute goods. Next come to 43. When the quantity demanded of goods increases by a large percent as compared with the income of the consumer, the income elasticity of demand will be higher income elasticity of demand. Higher income elasticity of demand, because the quantity demanded is more than the increase in the income, right? So 44, the relation between price and supply is, there is a direct relation, right? So the answer will be A. Next 45, under perfect competition the price of the product will be, it cannot be controlled, so the answer will be B. Under the perfect competition the price is always constant, so it cannot be controlled. Like 46, the perfect competition is a market situation where we have large number of buyer and seller. If it is seller, then it is also more perfect, right? 47, the firm can achieve the equilibrium at which MC is equal to MR. That is the general firm equilibrium condition, right? 48, a firm and industry are one and the same under the monopoly, and there is no difference between firm and industry. What is a firm? That is also act as a industry in case of monopoly. In case of 49, homogeneity of product is a characteristics of, that is a perfect competitive market. So these are the very easy questions. Then 50, in case of perfect competition the elasticity will be infinite, because the demand curve in case of perfect competitive market, which is showed by R is equal to MR is equal to MC is equal to also AC, it takes the shape of horizontal 2x axis. So horizontal 2x axis curve depicts the infinite elasticity of demand. Next come to 51, under which of the following forms of the market's structure a firm does not control over the price of its product. The answer will be the perfect competition, so because it is homogeneous. 52, who is the price leader under oligopoly? So the answer will be, there will be no firm that can be termed as price leader under the oligopoly. The answer will be the B, because your oligopoly market is divided into two parts. One is collusive oligopoly and another is non-collusive oligopoly. Under collusive oligopoly there is a case of price leadership and there is a case of barometric price leadership. So we can also that question is appropriate for not, it is not studied now, then we can in after class or in later class we can see what will be the condition of collusive and non-collusive oligopoly, right? Next come to the 53. In this one firm assume the role of price leader and fixes the price of product for the entire industry. So that is your price leadership, because the firm is termed as the leader firm due to the cost effective and use of high technology, right? 54, it is the art of translating into the quantitative terms, rupees and paisa, the value of product or unit of service to the consumer at the point will be it is called pricing. That means we can predict the value of that product. Next 55, for monopoly and industry demand curve, industry curve is the firms, that is demand curve, that is your downward sloping from left to right. Then next 56, if the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, the monopoly is the total revenue increases when the firms lowers its price. The total revenue increases when the firm lower its price. The price elasticity of demand is greater in case of monopoly. If in case of monopoly, then there is an indirect relationship between price and quantity demand. So here total revenue increases when firms lower its price, right? Next 57, the consumer surplus is, it is very easy, so the answer will be the B. A single in case of single price monopoly than in case of perfectly competitive market. That means the consumer surplus is below the shape of your downward demand curve and upward and above the shape of equilibrium price. So equilibrium price, there is a perfectly competitive industry, and negative demand curve is depicted by the monopoly. So it is less than the negative slope of demand curve and more than the equilibrium price, right? It is an indirect question, right? 58, an increase in the income will be, the answer will be the shift in the demand curve. There will be shift in the demand curve, right? Next come to 59, a shift in the supply will be will have a bigger effect on the price than output if the demand is price elastic. If there will be the demand is price elastic, then the shift in supply curve will have bigger effect on price, because demand is more. Next, 60, assuming a downward sloping demand curve, the upward sloping supply curve, assuming a downward sloping demand curve and upward sloping supply curve, a higher equilibrium price may caused by an increase in demand. Higher equilibrium price when we stick to the middle point, and from the middle to below there is excess demand. Keep in mind the equilibrium price, how equilibrium price is determined. From below the equilibrium price, that is the demand is more than the supply, but above the equilibrium price the supply is more than the demand. So in the question is a higher equilibrium price may be caused by an increase in demand. So when the equilibrium price increases, when there will be excess demand, there is a greater competition, right? So we can go for third test, right? That is your So first question will be, so your first question is your worth of a rupees to a consumer is called a, it is very easy. So the answer will be the marginal utility of money. That is your marginal utility of money. Next, come to a consumer attains equilibrium in case of one commodity when MUX is equal to PX. That is very easy in case of diminishing marginal utility, right? A consumer equilibrium in case of two commodity X and Y is struck when the answer will be the C. That is the condition for equimarginal utility you have termed, right? And the fourth question, a consumer reaches the point of equilibrium when MRSXY is equal to PX of PY. These are the very simple questions, right? We have taught in previous class. Fifth, a consumer will start buying less of X. So less of X automatically, that is here the answer will be B. That means MUX by PX will be less than. Then come to the sixth question. According to the IC approach, indifference curve approach, at the point of equilibrium, the answer will be the D. The slope of IC is equal to slope of price line, right? Next come to seventh, additional utility derived from the consumption for an additional commodity is called as, that is a +2 questions, that is your marginal utility, right? 8, the slope of indifference curve is equal to the marginal rate of substitution, MRS, that is your MRS. Next come to ninth question, why indifference curve convex to the origin? The answer will be the C, due to the continuous decline in marginal rate of substitution, that is negative MRSXY, though MRSXY is negative, so it takes the convex shape that I have taught in the class. 10. It is the property of indifference curve that no two IC can intersect each other. The reason behind that is the answer will be the C. The same combination of two goods cannot give an different level of satisfaction due to that reason, right. 11. The slope of budget line will be px by py. It is very simple. Next, 12. Which of the following is not the property of indifference curve? It is concave to the origin. It is not a property. 13. An indifference curve slopes downward, right, since more of one commodity and less of another result in the same satisfaction. That will give the same satisfaction, right. Next, 14th, the Hicks and Allen believed that the utility cannot be measured because Hicks and Allen which developed the indifference curve. So answer will be sorry. It cannot be measured. It can be measured by ordinal numbers. It can be measured by the ordinal numbers, but in case of cardinal numbers, it is derived by your law of equimarginal utility and law of diminishing marginal utility, right. So the answer will be the D, more appropriate. It will be more appropriate than A. Next, 15. An indifference curve is related to the choice of preference of the consumer, right. So the answer will be the D. 16. As we move down indifference curve left to right, the slope of indifference curve, that is, declines. Obviously it declines. The slope is declines. Next, the shift in budget line when the price are constant is due to, that is the change in income. It is the change in income. A shift in budget line is due to only the change in income. Then 18. The marginal rate of substitution x for y is calculated as, the answer will be the C, the change in y divided by change in x. That means del y by del x. The condition is your mu x by mu y is equal to px by py is equal to dy by dx, change in y by change in x. If we can see the change in y and x, that is reverse of marginal substitution of x for y. If it is asked the marginal rate of substitution y for x, then it is equal to the change in x divided by change in y. It is opposite, right. 19. A set of IC drawn in a graph is called, 19. Your answer will be your budget line, C, your budget line. That is your 19. That question is actually wrong. The answer will be also depicted wrong. Again, a set of indifference curve drawn in a graph is called as the indifference map. It is the right answer. It is the right answer, but in your answer there will be mistakenly said it is C, and B and C is there. There is a typing mistake. That is here. There is a typing mistake, right. So the answer will be the indifference map. Next, 20. The indifference map, higher indifference curve indicates higher satisfaction, the higher level of satisfaction, right. Next, 21. The MRS determines the preferences of the consumer, Next, 22. A situation when MRS is greater than Px Py, there is a increasing consumption of commodity X. because your MRS is greater than Px by Py. 23. That a two indifference curve cannot cut each other because each indifference curve represents a different level of satisfaction. A different level of, it is your appropriate answer. 24. The specific quantity to be purchased against a specific price of the commodity is called as quantity demanded. Price, and when price and of that commodity and quantity of that commodity is related, it is quantity demanded. 25th. A graphic representation of a table showing price and relationship of commodity in a market, that is your market demand curve. It is very easy. Next, 26. The downward slope of the demand curve shows, that is your B, inverse relationship between price and quantity demand. That is your answer. Next, 27. How two goods, apple and orange, are related when, as a result, rise in price of apple, the demand for apple also, the demand for orange also increases. That is your substitute. If there is a positive relation, there is substitute. If there is negative relation, then there is complementary goods. 28. In case of normal goods, the demand curve shows negative slope. In case of normal. In case of inferior, it is positive slope. The demand curve must fall in case of 29. In case of, that is your given, it cannot hold, so it is failed in case of given goods. 30. The inferior goods are those whose income effect is negative. That is a repeated question also, right? So thank you all for